just to make Alana more upset at me since I kicked her out of her seat, I gotta do it one more time. You can say where I was. There's a method to my madness. I'll appreciate this later. Okay, so
Yeah. I don't mind the things.
So what we're gonna do today is going to not as eloquent as my kiss. So what we'll do today is I'm going to look at some of the reading. We'll look at together and then kind of break you guys into groups to do what every Dominican likes to do. Talk, right? And then we can return back. And so what I think we'll do is for those of us that are online, so for Victor, Gabby, and Austin, we could mute you guys on our end and then turn off our mics so you're not listening to us. Or you can mute. Yeah, I guess we can turn off our mic, right? So they're not hearing us, and then they can speak amongst themselves when we break each other up. Victor, is that okay with you guys over there? Yeah, sounds good. Okay, so you guys can participate in all that kind of fun stuff. Austin. Cool. Awesome. Noticing Austin's giving a virtual thumbs up as well. Okay, cool. So we'll be speaking on our chapter's namesake, right, which is St. Margaret of Costello. And my reference is going to be the writings from our very own and even more. And so this is based on a 4-part series that she gave about 18 and a half years ago, right? Which I think for some of us that were here 18 and a half years ago, probably doesn't feel like 18 and a half years ago. I wasn't here 18 and a half years ago, but so based on that, so she did a 4-part writing on Margaret Costello, and then also, so this is all on our website. There's 5 parts on there. There's the 4.
Is it on the site? Yeah.
Was it about us? About 2 of them.
Life from our living. Who is?
Yeah, that's it. There it is. Okay, so so this is this 4-part series, right? And then there's a 5th part, which so was the last part also by her, or was that by somebody else?
No, that's by somebody else.
Okay, so the last part is the which I strongly suggest everybody needs to get already about someone who's this someone else.
I think it's a friar.
Right.
Yeah.
Talks about his journey to some of the places of her life, visiting her shrine, etc. And has some of the history there as well. So it's really quite informative. To Anita's writing, I really enjoyed it. So it was really well written. And one of the things that she does really well, if you open up the first document there, Blessings in Disguise one, is what she does is she does a great job of giving context. So you're amazing and fantastic. So she does a great job of context. So I'll just read it. You guys can read along with me online. This is the first couple paragraphs real quick here. So she writes, there are those who think of all of the Middle Ages as Dark Ages, and that if there were Dark Ages, the 13th century must be dark indeed. Not the darkest. The Black Death and the Great Schism still lay ahead, but not in the distant future. But the 13th century had trials enough of its own, and the people of that time were busy enough on a variety of fronts. In 1215, King John of England signed the Magna Carta, laying the foundation of constitutional law in Britain and America. Also in 1215, the Venetian merchant and explorer Marco Polo landed in China. The Fourth Lateran Council assembled defined the doctrine of transubstantiation. In 1252, Birger Jarl founded the city of Stockholm, Sweden. Dante Alighieri, the great medieval Florentine poet, was born in 1265. In 1269, Petrus France wrote the earliest known treatise on the properties of magnets. The first Habsburg Wilhelm I ascended the throne of the Holy Roman Empire. In 1273, in Aachen, the cathedral that Charlemagne had begun nearly 5 centuries earlier. In 1297, Edward I of England captured the stone of Scone, upon which the Scottish kings were crowned, and carried it back to Westminster, where it would remain for the next 7 centuries. In the 13th century, despite the wealth and temporal power of the Catholic Church, Christendom was beset by armed enemies, bent on subjugation and extermination. Then as now, jihad raged in the Middle East. The Crusades, which began in the 11th century, raged hotly in the 13th century, then faltered. By the end of the century, all the ground that had been gained in the Holy Land had been lost. On the other hand, Muslim rule continued to recede in Europe, particularly on the Iberian Peninsula. Muslim Granada was subjugated in 1236, and Alfonso III finally completed the Portuguese reconquista in 1249. Another dire threat to Christian Europe gathered on the eastern horizon in the 13th century. In 1206, Genghis Khan founded the Mongol Empire, destined to rule China and become the largest contiguous empire in history. Upon the leadership of his son, Ogadai Khan, the Mongols invaded Russia in the 1230s and pressed on into Eastern Europe. Only Ogutai's death in 1241 prevented the Mongols from advancing further west, possibly reducing all of Europe to slavery. Then it goes on to talk about the Albigensians that Mike had covered just a few minutes earlier. Right? Into this mix, in 1287, in Italy, right, is born our namesake, right, Mario Castello. And why I found this to be so interesting was because we're all born in a time and a place, a specific time and a place, right? Church history is temporally bound, right? It's in time. And, you know, I think for me, you know, looking at or thinking about, you know, why do we have saints, right? Right? And to us, it's, I think, you know, there's several reasons, right? But kind of one selfish reason is for us to have something to aspire to, right? You know, be a saint. What else is it? It's a tagline of the Catholic Answers or something like that, right? What's that? Okay, that's, yeah, exactly. But it's a great line nonetheless, right? And so, so I thought about this, right, for ourselves, right? We're also born in a specific time and space, right? I was born in 1975, right? Some of us are born a little before me, some of us maybe a little bit after us. So I was thinking, you know, if maybe one day, you know, we can aspire to be saints, and one day, you know, hundreds of years from now, we're writing about, you know, Saint Pam of Meridian, right, or something along those lines, right? You know, what would be the issues that, you know, we would be doing? What's the context that we're wrestling with at one time? It's kind of an opening way to start our little discussions here. But we're a relatively easy one. Would be that, you know, hey, what are the you know, again, some of us are you know, have a longer time frame than others, right? So maybe not just kind of what is happening, you know, now in 2025 in our lives, right, or in the world, I should say. But you know, kind of maybe a slightly broader scope of things. What are the, you know, times and what are the things that are happening that are defining our times that, you know, that we will be having to deal with, what we would have to be struggling with, right, in order to live a saintly life, right? And so, kind of, the reason I moved on over here is I kind of think how to get around this up, right? So as Mike was talking, I was doing the math in my head. So I think we'll break into groups of 3 this time for a few minutes. I think online you guys can do the same thing. But the question is basically, you know, in the context of which our lives are, right? So for some of us, we can talk about now, right? We can also maybe back to a slightly broader brush of history or scope of history. So, and you know, what are the issues? What are the things in our time that will, you know, that are really pressing down on us in ways to live a saintly life? So, to do that, I think I'm going to bring you guys in groups. So, it'll be John on over. We are online folks. It'll be Alana, Tim. Or actually, maybe Alana to, Alana and Tim. And, nope. Yeah, and then, yeah, there's you. 5, sure. Okay, what's that?
Where are you going?
I'm monitoring. Okay, I'm happy to join.
He's spying on all.
I'm spying on you. It's not a teacher. I got to do this. Okay, so So right now it's like 42 after, right? So we'll get that together maybe at 47 after, 48 after. We'll kind of monitor and go from there. Does that sound good to everybody? Okay, so line marks. We get set? Okay. So I think what I'd love to do right now is just kind of quickly going around. For some reason I thought I was going for an hour, so I had several questions. I think we'll get through like 2. As opposed to the 4 or 5 that I wanted to get to. We'll get next week. Next one. Which is
You want time for this?
yeah.
That means you'll come.
If everybody heard that, that was pointing out my lack of attendance. So, okay, but anyways, maybe some of our online folks, Victor, Gabby, or Austin, would you like to give us a chance to talk about anything?
Yeah, I think Austin may have lost connectivity. We were trying to engage him, so I'm not sure if he's online. But what we talked about here in terms of just comparing our age to Margaret's age, both seem to be like similar periods where even though Western Europe at the time was like united as Christendom, like single faith and name, it seems like that time similar to our time. There was a lot going on, like maybe scandal and hypocrisy within the church that prevented the church as a whole from being an effective witness. Like in our age, you think about like the sexual sexual abuse scandals within the church, like kind of coinciding with a broad falling off the cliff of mass attendance. And at that time, it seems like you start to see things like the Albigensian heresy and in the various scuffles of church leadership, local popes, and so on and so forth that would go on through Catherine Sienna's age. Maybe even though the age was united as a single Christian unit in name, just like in our age, I think the church had struggles where many of the saints at the time were reformer saints, were maybe exceptions to the rule in their own age, and not representative of the broader state of the clergy.
Real quick, John, would you mind speaking for your John, would you mind speaking for your group? I called you because you're on your cell phone.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out what it thinks.
Yeah.
It says climate change.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Did it really say that?
Yeah, it does. And well, what we talked about was, first of all, marriage and its impact upon marriage. And we talked about how we can resolve those issues. I think that one of the things is, what is the core philosophical error of our age and the issue? And what are we lacking in our modern age? The religious, and it's shot. Modernism and secularism clearly a result of the fruit of lack of faith. So,
Full stop. Hey, Carolyn, how about your messenger? Or whoever.
We talked about the condition of Washington DC and all that animosity is going on, all the things that Iran is going to reveal, the corruption, and the pharmaceutical, and all the different areas.
That's poisoning.
Correct.
So, in some ways, the growth of a kind of metastasized bureaucracy in this country, and its pathologies and nefarious influence on our lives, but also therefore because it's the United States and it spreads throughout the world in some ways.
And also the mass poisoning, so it makes it
Yeah, I know it's very difficult not to put your but when RFK Jr. was sworn in to Health and Human Services, he said something like, first of all, he said, you know, you guys got these needs for 20 years now, praying that you have a chance to address this. And I don't think that was just the same. And the other thing he said, healthy people have 1,000 dreams. Sick people only have one dream. 60% of the country only have one dream. I found that just very, very powerful. And I absolutely agree. You have to take care of your temple, right? Very good. The mic group, maybe scan the mic down to the mic group. You can get back and whoever lets you. Someone other than mine.
Alright, so, I guess there was two central themes that were mentioned in the crises of our time. One of them was abortion, and the other one was the absence of an absolute truth, only relative. So I guess what would the dictatorship of relativism, I think something was the term was coined. And so we also talked about loss of faith, which I guess you could say stems from or causes. There is no absolute truth. It's just whatever my truth is mine, your truth is yours. Go ahead and leave me alone. Right? So is there more?
Yeah, I mean, to me, the whole idea of a culture of death, right? Yes, sir. Just so we can get to a little bit more of the meeting here, if we were to continue on to page 3 of the reading, talking about the life of Margaret Costello. She's, of course, born to a noble family. If we can get to page, let's go to the 3rd page in there. To be the paragraph starts with all celebrations. Okay, so this is going to be when her father, right, the noble, is going to have a huge party for her son that's to be born, and unfortunately for him, quote unquote, unfortunately, right, things don't turn out quite as he or his wife saw fit. So, Anita writes here that all celebrations and plans for celebrations stopped altogether when the child actually appeared in life day. In the first place, the child was a girl. But what was worse, in what her parents considered a cruel blow of fate on them, she was severely deformed. She was a dwarf. She had one leg shorter than the other. She was hunchbacked, and it would soon be discovered that she was completely blind. Instead of evoking pity and an increase in parental love and solicitude, the very sight of her filled her parents with disgust. Things go from anyways bad to worse. For Margaret, not only is she born with severe challenges and deformities, right, but she is born to parents that don't love her for being their child. Right? In some ways, it reminds me of the people today, like where they only have like one child, so their child has to be a complete reflection of them in every way. Basically, it's not a child anymore; it's a trophy. right? You know, and so the kid better, you know, be the best athlete. So they put the kids in all these like extra sports things. Some of this stuff's like bad, but like, you know, parents, you know, their children are just, or their child, right? It's just a reflection of them in many ways, right? So not loving the child as their own, as their child, per se, but as somehow a exhibit.
Projection.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Thank you for putting that. That's exactly what I was thinking, right? And so, what do? Right? They hide her away, and then when that doesn't work, they hide her away in the castle, and then when that doesn't work because she's a little girl, 6 years old, and almost gets discovered, right? And so they lock her away, because she is a pious and very smart girl, right? But they end up locking her away in a kind of an annex to a very small church about a quarter mile away. And they kind of, there's some kindness shown to her, especially from the local priest. And it goes on and goes to a couple pages. Let's see, there should be an extended quote in there. We'll see. There you go. So we see right here where it says, in his book, this is the last sentence before the extended quote. It says, in his book, The Life of Blessed Margaret Christella, Father William Manuel, he puts the following words into the priest's mouth. She said, Father, when they brought me here this morning, that's to say, to her walled-in cell, I did not understand, because of my sins, why God let this happen to me. But now he has made it clear. Jesus was rejected even by his own people, and God is letting me be treated the same so that I can follow our dear Lord more closely. And oh Father, I am not good enough to be so near to God. And she was so overcome by the thought of God's love for her that she could not continue. Right? Pretty powerful stuff from a child. To put it mildly, and to frame things into that way, which of course is, that's why she's a saint, right? But if we go to the beginning of the next page, please. Anita writes something which is a great something for us to reflect on. So at the very beginning it says, but just 6 years into her story, just 6 years into her story, we learn that what looks to us like God's cruelty in allowing us to endure pain is really his mercy. So we're going to see how this captivity of hers allows her to become, she uses that to become more holy as opposed to going insane. And then Nina asked something here, and this is what I'd like us to reflect on, because I think it's powerful. She writes here, what would have happened to little Margaret if she had been physically beautiful? What would have happened? And then she has her kind of reflections after that. What would have happened if the things that her parents were looking for in a child she actually had? What would that have done to form her as a saint, or would it have, which it seems like in the deformed her? And so the question I'd like us to reflect on is, are there things again, it's not their discussion, but are there things maybe in our lives that are that are gifts, right? In this case, physical beauty, right? But are there things that we have in our lives that are gifts for us that in some ways end up being our own crosses that we have to bear, I guess, right? Things that are maybe not crosses, but things that get in our way of us becoming more holy. Does that make sense to you guys? Right? So again, feel free to share what you want to or not want to. But again, the question would be, what are things that I think the world might see as huge pluses, but in fact actually might be problematic for us? Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Let's chat it up, and then we'll get going, and then about 5 minutes, and we'll wrap it up for today. Go for it. Share. Again, this is oh yeah. So, I mean, again, I want to turn into some the malice struggle session or something. But I would say, I think, you know, I have a gift, very few of them, but one of them, I tend to be pretty, I think, witty. I can kind of come up with things pretty quickly, which is, but it can also, and has led me to be quite cruel sometimes, right? So, you know, you can just, again, so I mean, something that is definitely a positive, right? In many ways, it's fun to do that, you make people laugh, it's to say something silly and fun, or maybe even profound. But on the other hand, I've had to use that in ways that can be just not good at all. So for me, that's what, it's not beauty, right? So, but you know, don't laugh too hard. Okay, but that would be definitely, you know, something that would be for me. Again, we don't need to go and share or compare ourselves or anything. But if there's anything that anybody would feel comfortable sharing, that would be fine too, or other things. Having beautiful children, for example, right? Okay. So, is there anything anybody would like to share or not?
There's a microphone around there somewhere.
For me, I can say, interesting, the way you presented it was answered. One thing for me was, I was quite young, I was very shy and not nobody thought I'd go to law school, the whole thing. So what it led to was I found a way around that by being well prepared in court. So I'd go into court and it was like I had shotguns in just to know the case well became, because everybody didn't think I would be that prepared, and even to this day, some people, you know, they just, I will keep quiet in the room. So anyway, I didn't mean to go on, but the point is
Not this room.
the point is that that weakness I was able to turn it into an asset in court.
No, I wasn't. My lazy eye. No, I was kidding. No, again, we don't have to share if we don't. Obviously, we're time right now. There were some other things I really wanted to get to on her life because it becomes more interesting. I think there's, you know, things to ponder on. One thing I'll leave you guys with is later on, you know, in the story, right, of her life, she eventually becomes a member of a group of nuns, and first they think it's cute that she's so devout and everything, you know, and it's kind of, I would say almost kind of maybe like a mascot, you know. It's kind of how I felt as I was reading it. And then she begins to grate on them because the group that she's a part of isn't quite so devout, aren't quite following their own rules, right? And even the prioress, right, you know, comes to her and says, well, you know, you kind of don't get it. You got to get with the times, right? I think times are different now in the 1300s, right? You know, we need to kind of get with the times, and you know, all that stuff about the rule. That's kind of old-fashioned, and she ends up, you know, really not getting along with her fellows there, you know. And so I think as I read that initially, you know, one of the questions I was going to ask was going to be, well, geez, you know, what do you do if you're trying to be holy and the people around you aren't being so holy, right? I think as I reflected on it further, I thought, you know, the reality is if we look at the story, we're probably not Margaret. Right? We're probably the sisters and the prioress, you know, who get really annoyed by the holy people that are around us, and you know, hey, you know, when does that happen? When does it not happen? So you know, and how we can, you know, counteract that in our own lives of really celebrating other people's holiness, really trying to encourage that in other people and ourselves, as opposed to kind of tearing them down because we end up being the one. It reflects on our souls when we see that greatness in somebody else. And again, you know,
we see our deficiencies when we are around people who are, we're like, oh, even if we're around people who are like way more beautiful than, like, it's in different levels, right? It's not just holiness, but in different levels where we're like, oh, I see my deficiencies in this, next to this person who's like 10 times prettier. Like, oh, I recognize where I am in in the order of things, but even, it's the same thing with the holiness, right? It's like, I recognize where I am in the order of things, like, not this person, right? But we can, like, kind of awaken the nastiness in us, which we also, like you're saying, we need to check, but also not make them a celebrity, on the other hand, you know, like, with balance, but give them reverence.
And I think the holiness part's even harder because, you know, the physical beauty, it's like, well, you know, for a lot of those folks, you won the genetic lottery,
Yeah.
right? And you know, but again, you can, go back to the health thing, you can ruin beauty, right? And, you know, you can enhance beauty as well, right? I mean, true beauty. But I think with holiness, the problem is it's all on us, right? So it is completely your, I mean, not completely, but a significant amount of it is your fault for how you choose things. Anyways, that's what I have for today. There's a couple other things I want to talk about, but that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Part 2 next month.
Yeah, exactly.
I was thinking about St. Catherine of Siena when you were saying that. She says, the way you know yourself, the self-knowledge is you look at God as in a mirror, you see your brother and sister. So the standard is God. And it's really, what he said, holiness is us, no, it's on God. The unholiness is on us.
Right, yeah. Unfortunately. That's hard. Alright, do you guys want to take 5 minutes to report?
This is Catherine of Siena.
This is Catherine of Siena. We're fully booked this week. We're doing Catherine until we're done.
They want to trip you, that's coming out.
I guess why this question of how my earthly blessing
They're the best cheeks! Cheeks are the best thing ever.
My blessings are not responsible for the failings I'm responsible. It would be an easier question to say, what among the earthly handicaps have you been able to see become a spiritual blessing in your life? It's a much easier question. But maybe you thought it was too easy.
That's why, yeah, well, that is like, really, you know, I thought it was very profound. Like, what if you were, you know, what if you had been beautiful? Like, I really wrestled with this, like, you know, had she been beautiful, had she been, would she have been a saint then? Right? That's the.
On the other hand, I also think that whatever it is that you're doing, point it to God, always find a way to ensure if people who are good looking go out that like they're able to charismatic and attract people and point them in a certain way.
Yeah, apparently Rosalina was beautiful.
The beauty is pleasing.
Rosalina was beautiful, but it didn't stop it. Chapter, paragraph 49. Okay.
What? 106. Mine was at 99.
I send people troubles in this world.
48 is where we left off? Paragraph 48. I know, I was like, we should probably do this because it's like so far things have referenced during Holy Spirit. So we're at 48. Is that?
48.
I heard 49.
I also heard 48.
49 is on page 100. Paragraph 49 is on page 100.
I think we read 48.
Okay, you were the one who did the reading last.
Do you want me to read? How far should I go? You go with 49?
Yeah, let's read the whole 49.
Well, it's long.
It's okay.
I read all day out loud to my kids. I send people troubles in this world so that they may know that their goal is not this life, and that these beings are imperfect and constant. I am their goal, and I want them to want me, and in this spirit they should accept such things. Now there are some, I tell you, who, when they feel the pressure of trouble, are prompted to remove the cloud from their eyes by their very suffering, and by what they see must be the consequence of their sin.
out of the bottom, any kind of fear to do, we got to start.
And the reason fear is used for both, my thought is that in both cases you keep God's will. One for a good motive and one for a less good motive. Because you're good, right? Because you're a creature of God. So if out of fear of your own destruction, you keep God's commands, that's a good.
And it won't sustain you. It'll only get you so far. 'Cause I think, I don't know if this is official, but the 3 steps we reminded them, like 3 stages in spiritual life, the beginner, proficient, perfect. And all the saints, they each have like their own little way of expressing the 3 stages. But all of them, that first stage is fear, anxiety, is selfish fear. And that's our first step to God. But I feel like what's being said here is that's not enough. That's how you start.
It has to be targeted.
Yeah, well, at some point you have to develop virtue
Right. With the school.
to keep going to the next step, otherwise you'll go down off
You
ourselves.
have to have love of virtue and not just fear of punishment.
Yeah.
And the love of virtue means actually acting, which is part of the process. It's not just like, I'm afraid, so I'm just going to get out of this particular place, but when we get off the stair.
Yeah, well, I feel like you stop sinning, right? So you get out of the one sin, but then beyond that, then you cultivate virtue. So it's not enough to just stop sinning, you can't just do nothing, because you can't stand still. Like in order to go forward, you have to practice the virtue.
Your imperfect love of God has to become a virtue.
But first I'm proficient, and then,
Yeah. I mean, but it's beginning and end, right?
yeah.
There's a middle.
Like the affection and desire should at least desire to have your
That phrase in Indian devil, right? So that's what happens.
Everybody's a saint on January 1st,
Uh,
right? You know?
for the first thing that happens.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever it is, our first day of Lent, yeah.
Ash Wednesday. Look at how holy I
Yeah.
am.
2 weeks later.
I'm on the first step, guys. Made it.
I think it's the
Selfie.
I think it's the second Friday of January. It's the Quitting Friday, because that's when
Oh,
that
okay.
is by that Friday. That's where people fall off their New Year's resolutions. Right? So it's that 40. Yeah.
That's when you start going to the gym because it's now empty.
Yeah.
February 1st.
No, the second week in February, because then it's like February 1st, or yeah, February 1st. It's like, the first week of January is like, it's packed, and you're like, not that I go. I don't go. For me, gym would be a fat tax.
So
I
when you
wouldn't go.
daily pick up your cross and follow the house, you can fall. You can back up. So I'm gonna cut your time, yeah, back up. But that's-
And then the abuse of mercy. I think we complain about that. Express nursing more about that.
Well, I believe that people want mercy without justice and truth. And that's just in the social level, that's great, because what you all hear about. We hear it even someone from the Holy Father who doesn't explain it well. God bless him. The problem is he doesn't want the death penalty, which I understand. I get that argument. But wants to let people out of jail early, not to spend all that time. I don't want that either for them, but I didn't do that to them. They did it to themselves. That said, have they been merciful? Have they faced their justice with right reason and order and tried to give the judge the ability to grant mercy? Because mercy's really going to come when we have done the same for others. And the reality is that if one is to meet justice, then to accept what has happened to them. I'm talking about criminally, when goes to prison, when she goes to prison, to accept it, and then try to best they can to get mercy. I'm just looking at it from strictly man's perspective. But arguably that can be done with Christ, because we're spinning the turnstile of sin and we go back to the sin. And are we seeking true mercy? Are we doing what we've been told to do to make changes to our life?
What I see is the sort of crisis in this paragraph of development of virtues that a lot of us don't even really know what virtue is. I've been a jerk so long and it hasn't helped, so I want to put it away, but I've never been virtuous, so what's that all about? And I think people recurrently what happens in their lives, they like to turn over a new leaf and shucks, how do I do that? So it almost requires a certain amount of training, to develop a love of virtue. One must first develop a practice of virtue, and that is not a trivial task.
Even before starting to practice a trivial virtue, you have to be able to point it out. Oh, that's virtue. You know what I mean? Like, to even do the routine, because you're saying, like, I don't even know what that looks like.
So that,
What does that look
that's
like?
right. That's why people in that situation, they should find out people are virtuous and use them as models. You can do that by reading the Gospels, but for example, the reason St. Benedict rejected so many people is because he was virtuous. And then he set up a whole rule of life to promote virtue.
I believe that virtuous, it's very attractive. Very attractive. Anybody ever seen the movie Catechism?
Richard Burton.
Yeah, Richard Burton. And he goes through this obvious thing. This is supposedly true. But Beckett goes through this, a very close friend of King Henry III, and they rampage the women and all this. And he always is looking for honor. Everywhere he looks. Who is worth honor? Honor. And he finds and runs right into God. Smack right into God. And he finds out this is the one that deserves honor. And that movie really bends in a different direction, emotionally, at least for me, because you can see everything matters at that point. And he focuses strictly on God. And I think all of us have to deal with at some point in our life is that we are going to honor God above our own lives, as Beckett did at that point. And he lost his life for it, but it was worth it. And we discover that kind of God that's in this book, then it's life worth living.
I was gonna say, I think that's where the suffering comes in, because suffering is the purification,
Right?
and it demonstrates to you your powerlessness. You're stripped away of many of the gifts or things that God has given you. You're suffering, and you become more sensitive to virtue.
message could not be missed if you read the documents. It cannot be missed. And the call is not to the laity or to the clerical state. It's to the laity.
Right, and I think it's so intertwined with the family, what the attacks in society with children, family, and receivers of life, and families was in the trenches, spouse, right? So they see it firsthand.
Everyone's crushed by it too.
I was listening to this thing that's from Eastern Orthodox folks, so it must be wrong. But they said things like kind of catechesis or understanding arguments for things 600 years ago in Serbia, something like that, right, would be far less important because just every part of your life is structured. You're swimming in church life, right? And now, kind of in modern social America, first world everywhere, that just doesn't exist. It's just a baseline, right? Or just some vestiges of things, right? So now abuse becomes so important, and it's much more in some ways individuals to do these things, or islands of people to work on these cases, understanding, working for virtue, because we're not part of this kind of organic whole that you have for so long. That's what struck me.
So much necessary faith and just trusting in God because of how much corruption there has been. They have to overcome that through faith, right? It's like the first conversion throughout the world, there wasn't anything to do. It was so easy, right? Half of the people have been inoculated by like what they think Christianity is. You know what I mean? And so it's like to actually re-evangelize people into faith, it will take so much grace that we have. You know what I mean? Like it'll be even greater accomplishment for God to work through this. So it's like His greater glory will come through this somehow, and that's exciting. I'm pretty excited.
That's what St. Catherine said, right? If you rely on all this people in your
And it will happen, and it really like boots on the ground and like this meeting is important for all of our souls to then go out and preach the gospel.
And do it with words when we have to.
That's not
Well, St. Catherine does say, our Lord says to St. Catherine, I want many deeds and few words.
well, if you don't live the gospel, who will listen? Which is how I read that. And that's St. Francis.
I think prayer is the
Prayer is what?
My words, I think, so how would you this for you?
But anyways, well, we read 2 pages. This time. I'm sorry, guys. Next month. I don't remember what's, well, I guess St. Martin Part 2 or St. Catherine. I think there's something else. I'm sorry. Anyways, I think it was good. We had good conversation.
Good conversation, good meeting. Don't forget March